Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week episode of the program, we'll focus on ending violence and harassment in the workplace. We will be right back.
Organized labor under the trade union side of the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council has threatened to embark on an industrial action if the federal government does not take urgent steps to ensure that the Joint Council sets out to work out the consequential adjustments and produce a fresh salary structure in line with the new national minimum wage. According to the General Secretary of the Association of Senior Civil Servants, Bashir Lawal, the generation of a fresh salary table is in line with the new minimum wage which President Muhammadu Buhari signed into law recently. The labor leaders say that once a new salary table was generated, it would help to maintain the current relativity among all grades in the civil service. The new table will also go a long way to assist the state governments to have a seamless implementation of a new minimum wage.
They are not answering us. What they are putting forward as salary increase arising from the national minimum, it's a paltry sum that cannot compensate for these years of wait. So what we are saying is government, you pay, we have agreed on what should go to level 1 to 6. Government should pay level 7 to 14, 30% increase in their salaries, 15 to 17, 25%. That is our demand. So anything short of it will go ahead with what we are planning.
We have over 100 Nigerians working, and this way they are casual workers. And I like what you just asked. If you engage a casual worker, after 3 months you need to staff them. Do they even have a staff? How many staff do they have? Like they say, this person is a salary and I'm paying taxes on them, than just casual workers.
That was a verdict by the Lagos State government sealing Shengfa Nigeria Limited until it complied with safety measures. I visited the footwear manufacturing factory in Lagos when the international community celebrated the Child Labour Day. Then I discovered how underage children are forced to work for 12 and 18 hours daily at the factory. That visit drew the attention of the authorities to the plight of the workers. During the brief inspection by the Lagos State Safety Commission, TVC News observed that all the claims by the workers are true, with exposed electrical wires, no safety signage, no standard chairs, no standard toilets or protective wears at the factory.
Generally, the place is not fit for people to work in. 1, you have unsafe stacking of goods all over the place. 2, you have overcrowding. 3, the access routes are not clearly demarcated. I nearly fell down while I was coming to this place. And then your seats, they are not ergonomically friendly. In total, your safety management system is very, 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 very poor.
We noticed while coming in, they have some rodents around at the workplace area, which is unsafe. Because the way the place was wired, there's wiring everywhere. Some of the ceilings are leaking. So with rodents around, rodents will have the chance to pierce the wire, and from that it can cause shock, which can lead to electrocution. So that's very unsafe.
I also noticed the room where there were staff being locked up to work, which is very unsafe. And then even the bathroom, the conveniency for where staff goes, that's a hazard on its own. We were sent back by the smell of the place. So there's a lot of work, safety-wise, that needs to be done on this place to prevent further incidents and casualties.
Every manufacturing company, they need to come to Lagos State Safety Commission to give us their safety manual, the methodology, how they are going to be applying. Then they need to come for certification because we audit them. Our job is about the people working. I'm not worried about any other thing else. I want to be concerned that Nigerians should not be should not be hurt. Nobody should die while working. They come for a living, they do their job, get paid, spend their money anyhow they want. But for somebody to come for a work and end up dead, we're not taking it. So our own recommendation for any other factory, whether it's Chinese, Lebanese, Nigerian, whatever it is, they need to be certified on 45001, which is our safety ISO. It's a standard, worldwide standard. If they implement that, see, they will have reduced the risk. People will be working in a very good condition. Look at this, the way the offices are. When you and I are passing by, you see some people, I mean, if they have taken a break, where are they taking the break? This office is wide enough, but the rest, only one person we saw here. Why over 30 people lying in a room there? Maybe they told them not to work because we are coming. But the whole thing needs to be corrected.
Though Shengfa prepared for our arrival, not all the workers were present. After further search, TVC News discovered that some were locked in a room where they still worked, a few were eating in a store, while others were nowhere to be found. The lawyer representing the management said the footwear company does not have a first aid box. Rather, they are in partnership with the Lagos State General Hospital, Ikeja.
There's some form of health safety, but generally what we generally do is that we have the general hospital not too far away from us, about a 5 or 7 minutes drive away from this place, and we generally advance most of our staff to this area.
TVC News earlier reported that the company employs only casual workers who have no access to any other form of benefits except the 700 naira they earn per day. Even certain deductions can be made from the amount over issues like lateness and failure to meet up with targets and more. This worker was told to go back home since the company has been sealed, but reaffirms a daily wage and hopes the management will pay her for the work done.
We collect 700
per day.
Yes.
Joseph Ekwenobe, who was electrocuted to death by a faulty machine at the factory, was not too fortunate. His parents described him as a talented boy who had dreams. They still want justice for their son's death. The debate on labor and its role in nation building has been a major public discussion recently. The Vice-Chancellor of Nasarawa State University, Lafia, at a brief lecture spoke on the essence of contribution of workers to the wealth generation in the country.
It is through the labor of workers that we can produce. And we have seen this production in various aspects of the nation, in the economy. And I've also argued that labor has contributed enormously in manufacturing, in agriculture, in mining, in public service, in government policy formulation and policy implementation. These are all critical or essential for nation building.
During the opening ceremony, the outgoing president of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, Boy Kagama, spoke on the challenges facing the labor movement.
Fellow comrades, Nigeria is the most populated country in Africa, but not the most peaceful or successful. Our tale is that of anarchy and absurdity. Hardly a day passes by without news of killings, spate of bombing, assassinations, kidnappings, and suicide bombing. This seems to have overwhelmed our security operatives. Nowhere is safe now, including the homestead of Mr. President and the former Minister of Defense.
When we say we are going to protest, the protest must take place. When we say we are going to picket, the picket must take place. When we say we want to change the rule, for the rule to work for the majority, we must be on the street to give effect to it.
A minute's silence was observed in honor of the third deputy president of TUC, Francis Olabode Johnson, who was also the president of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association.
Thank you. Long live TUC. Long live Nigerian workers. Long live Civil Society of Nigeria. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The 11th National Delegate Conference of the Trade Union Congress themed Labour and Nation Building has come to an end. At the conference in Abuja, a new national president, Quadri Olaleye, emerged for the union.
Fellow comrades, I must affirm here that Trade Union Congress in Nigeria, to succeed in this new dispensation, it must be determined to tackle myriad of problems facing the labor movements and the nation at large. In this new dawn, it will no longer be business as usual. If we want a Congress that works for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, this came as a surprise, notwithstanding the unflinching support of seasoned professionals in diverse fields in our various affiliates who made this task achievable.
After recommendations were made to the members of the union, the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Adams Oshiomhole, who was also a former president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, urged labor leaders to ensure the implementation of the new national minimum wage.
Only when those who are victims of injustice rise in unison to reject and fight those who are perpetrators of injustice. United on that, you have my support. If, when it matters, some states refuse to pay, if the IPC state, you have my support, I will speak on it. It does not matter whether APC or PDP, Nigeria is one. The minimum wage must be implemented. It is meant to be binding. It is not a recommendation. It has been signed into law by President Muhammad Buhari. May the law not be signed in vain.
On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the head of Nigerian delegates who chaired the End Violence and Harassment in the Workplace. Take a listen. It's good to have you on the program.
Nice to have you too.
A lot has been happening as we celebrate 100 years of the International Labour Organization. Can you give us the summary of what you've experienced here and what you're going to be taking home back to Nigeria?
Yeah, well, as you said, a lot of things have been happening from the opening of this conference throughout these days. And primarily, let me focus more on the committee I was assigned to chair from our delegate of NLC, that means the workers' representative. Coincidentally, I'm assigned to be the chairman of the workers' group on violence and harassment in the world of work committee. And coincidentally, this issue is the main or the new issue before this centenary International Labour Conference that is taking place here in Geneva. Is the main issue or the new issue, as I said, because this issue came as a substantive agenda in the last ILC of 2018, and thereafter it was adopted, and the Secretariat of ILO throughout the year did a lot of work from designing and sending questionnaire to member states to gather and collect opinion and input to develop the issue of violence and harassment in the world of work as a substantive issue, as you can see in this conference. And we are happy as representative of workers, particularly representing Nigeria, that this issue has received the maximum attention it deserves from the conference. Both the representatives that comprises the tripartite had actually resolved on this agenda, and it is going to be a substantive convention that will be accompanied with recommendation that we will be taking back home as a new convention at the end of this conference, and thereafter we devise a means and design our strategy as Nigerian working class to see how we can engage Nigerian government in order to domesticate it to be a law in our country.
Domesticating these laws is one thing, implementation is another. And from my observation, we've seen situations or scenarios whereby a boss in the workplace decides to harass its workers. So far, NLC as a center, because I know that you on the national level you hold a position, I know that there would have been complaints. Has there been any time whereby NLC actually took the fight to actually end violence and harassment in the workplace, or probably promote a more friendly environment for the workers?
Well, I think a lot of efforts had been, done by the Nigerian Labour Congress in that respect. First and foremost, in the area of advocacy, enlightenment, both for the workers and employers of labor in our country. Secondly, the adoption of some of the, best practices across the globe in the area of protection of workers in the workplace against all forms of violence and harassment had been one of the major activities Nigeria Labour Congress had been engaged in for a very long period of time. One of the advantage of being here is to exchange ideas and also to get the situation across the globe, and that is one of the leading discussion, because for you to support your argument on any piece of issue, certainly you must be practical by supporting it with some evidences. And violence and harassment is one of the challenges, one of the risk most of the workers are passing through in their working places. And that was why Nigeria Labour Congress gave it the attention it deserved in the area of advocacy, as I said from the beginning, enlighten our workers to be alive and also to be more enlightened on the symptoms of those violence and harassment so that they would sit off. And we didn't even stop there. As a center in Nigeria, we adopted a document, working document, as a Nigeria working group back home on how to guide our members in all the working places in the country so that there will be harmony in their workplaces.
From my experience, I know that we have so many male and also females that actually experience violence and harassment in the workplace. Are there practical ways that the Nigerian Labour Congress wants to actually address this issue? Could it be in the form of advertisements? Could it be in the form of probably empowering the youth department or the women commission department? What are the practical ways that what practical ways do you think that the Nigerian Labour Congress and other organized labor centers can actually adopt to ensure that workers feel comfortable to come out in the open to express whatever challenges they're actually faced with in the space or in the workplace?
I think in the first place, that is why we are already excited about the outcome of several meetings and engagements that took place on this particular topic here in Geneva. The first and foremost is to get a sort of legal frameworks that will guide the protection of this violence and harassment in the world of work. And I believe what this process is going to produce is going to give us what we expected from ILO as working class, to ensure that the most vulnerable of the tripartite, as far as this issue is concerned, and the workers are protected. And as you say, Nigeria Labour Congress in particular had been engaged, actually showed a lot of commitment in this area, and I'm sure by the time we achieve having this issue as a convention and also come with its recommendations, certainly we are going to do more to ensure that our workers, our members back home are protected. But going forward, apart from the issue of regulations, there is the need of enlightenment. The workers need to be educated, well informed about all forms of violence and harassment, because it may interest you to know that it's not every worker that saw that harassment as an issue even, because in most places, in most cases where such acts happen, you see workers see it as his own personal issue. But it should be seen as beyond that, because it's something that really disorganizes the system. And that is why the issue of enlightenment is also key to it. And we are going to look at it and do what is necessary in order to carry all the working class along, enlighten them, and do what is expected on them to protect and ensure that they raise their voice when there are issues like that.
There's this conversation about pay disparity, especially when it comes to what a man earns and what a woman earns on the table for doing the same work. Is there any plans to ensure that probably there's more advocacy in Nigeria as regards ensuring that there's gender equality in the workplace?
Yes, in fact, it's part of the second leg of the activities that took place in this conference. I believe you are aware of the protest that went on by the workers group in the conference because of the demand for new social contract between the workers and the employers of labor across the globe. And we are demanding for new social contract that will promote, and prevent the issue of disparity in income, disparity in and discrimination at the workplaces, to a new contract order that will provide equality between the working class across the globe, and also provide new social order that will ensure protection of workers actively in service and those that are on retirement. That means the issue and the challenges across the globe on a pension and gratuity payment. So is the second issue that working class in this conference are demanding, and their voice is well heard, or our voice is well heard. And we decided to engage in this because about 40 head of governments from various countries attended this conference. That's what makes this conference unique. And this new demand is aiming at ensuring that decent work is achieved.
Casualization of workers, outsourcing of staff are some of the forms of violence and harassment in the workplace. And there's this trend of workers working longer hours than expected. We know before now that many workers actually went on series of strikes globally. That even promoted the idea of the May Day celebration, the achievement of 8 hours work per day. But right now we have people working 12 hours, 18 hours. People work from Monday to Sunday. How will this be incorporated and brought back home to ensure that workers don't overwork themselves, and also the employers get to know that they have to respect the rights of workers?
That is the major issue on the demand of workers in this conference. And in summary, what you are saying is all about the concept of decent work agenda. And by decent work agenda is we need new contract order that will protect the vulnerable workers at working places. The discrimination and disparities on the condition of service within a particular organization or inter and intra division and variation of condition of service. These are some of the issues we are talking about. The issue of minimum wage. They are all part of decent work agenda we are discussing. And you can only achieve that through the instrument of social contract. And this social contract has to be universal. And it must guarantee the freedom of association between the working class, to form workers' group in forms of union, the freedom to strike, the freedom to collective bargaining, so that there will be workers across the globe will be treated with dignity and honor. That is the whole idea about the strike, about the protest that was organized by the workers group in this conference. And I believe as Nigerian group, we learn a lot, and we are still learning in this conference, and we are going to enrich our capacity back home.
It was an interesting conversation I had with you.
Thank you very much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week as we continue the series of the International Labour Organization Conference, which happened in Geneva, Switzerland. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.